Welcome back, all you crazy fuckers. Hey, how y'all doing? We are back.
Language.
Okay, Captain America. Anyway, we're back for
Thank you. I represent
weekly
that
recap.
remark.
Yeah, I just forgot because Bastard keeps talking. Anyway, welcome back. We're back with the weekly recap. Number 43. In truth, it's 42 because I suck at counting. But anyway, we got some topics for y'all. How y'all doing in the chat? Thank you for tuning in on X and YouTube. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Helps get it noticed on YouTube at Orange Hat. Also like the videos, watch the videos, subscribe to the channel, click the bell on for notifications. All that jazz, folks. It really does help get the channel noticed. I'm trying to get the 2,000 subs. If I get the 2,000 subs before the year ends, I will do a giveaway for a nice little item that I got that's freshly packaged still. So yeah.
He'll also dye his privates orange.
That's only if I get to 3,000 before the end of the year. So yeah. How's everybody doing? Kate, how you doing?
Great. It's I'm ready for a new week. Feels like the last couple ones have been a little cray-cray. Sorry I missed you guys, but I'm back. Hello.
All right. And Ambassador, how you doing, you crazy bastard?
I beg your pardon. My parents were not. I was not born out of wedlock. But
As a bastard, I'm offended.
To quote one of my favorite movies from the late '90s, I'm super. Thanks for asking.
Okay, good. Now, this one's going to be heavy Disney stuff, folks, because Gina Carano versus Disney, a Disney employee getting caught up in
did some dumb things.
Rather heavy-handed stuff. I don't
again.
want to say it out loud, but I will have it on the ticker.
They did
as
dumb.
well as a Karate Kid's Legends movie coming with Jackie Chan from Kung Fu Kid and Ralph Macchio, the Karate Kid himself.
Yay!
So we have this. I will show you guys what we're talking about. We actually will cover that right now, so we'll get that going, and then we're going to get into, after all the topics, a For Vendetta discussion and how it is seriously relevant to today. So let's say hello to the chat. We have Caveat or Conroy Riker. Good to see you, man. Hey, and we have Caveat Ties. Hey, good to see you. Thank you for stopping in. I don't think I've seen you in my chat before, but hey, man, thank you for coming on in. Unless you've changed your name. So, hey. Anyway, dude, you're awesome. You found the right stream. But getting into it, yes, we have a poster that was released, I think today. So, this is from Facebook, where I took the screenshot. So,
I actually saw this.
Let me get the banner out of the way because the banner's kind of killing it. There. But yeah. This is Legends Are Forever. Jackie Chan, Ben Wang, and Ralph Macchio star in Karate Kid Legends, exclusively in movie theaters, May 30th, 2025.
Yay!
Oh. So, as a person who has been a major Karate Kid fan, I gotta say, this is interesting. This is interesting. Because I grew up on the original Karate Kid movies. I kind of are identified with Daniel LaRusso because I have the first name of the character, as well as I got bullied, as well as kind of had to learn to stand up for myself, and I learned karate, all that stuff. So I'm basically a living Daniel LaRusso, just not the same kind of person as Daniel LaRusso. But what do you guys think of this news?
Okay, you go first.
Well, I am not a huge Karate Kid fan, so let me just lay that out first.
All right, well,
I really enjoyed. I really, really, really enjoyed
Nerd
Karate
card
Kid.
rejected.
Oh my God. Let me explain. Okay. I really enjoyed the first one. I could watch that on repeat forever. Um, Not as fond as the second one, but I still enjoyed it. Third one, leave it. I haven't watched Cobra Kai, but this kind of feels like, and forgive me for being cynical, but like every time they're like, look at us bringing this thing back that y'all love, and then they kill it and they destroy it every time. They get our hopes up. They've been doing it for years. It looks cool. I'm afraid they're going to how do I put it? Now it's like Academy Award winner Jackie Chan. And Ralph Macchio will do it just for the fans because he loves the fans. I've met him at a convention before. He's great. Um,
Nice.
I don't know. It could good. It's 50-50 toss. I'm cynical because anytime somebody brings back something that's playing on nostalgia, it's not great. I don't remember the Karate Kid with Jackie Chan being particularly good. That's the one with Will Smith,
The
right?
Jaden
girly boy
Smith.
Jaden Smith.
Okay. That wasn't good. I didn't like it.
Not many people
So
did.
so you're gonna have a really, really good movie like The Karate Kid, at least the first one, in my opinion, is 10 out of 10. Um, and then there's a whole franchise built off of like that movie and like him and Mr. Miyagi. So how are you gonna pair that with the like bad Jackie Chan one? I don't know. It could go either way. They could redeem the Jackie Chan one, kind of like Deadpool Wolverine. Kind of gave Elektra a little bit. People kind of look on her a little bit more favorably, maybe. But I don't know. It could go either way. Those are my thoughts.
All right. Hey, Ambassador.
Well, unlike my cynical co partner
Co-host.
down below, co-host below me, I know that's not a joke. I am more open-minded to this because I've seen several legacy sequels now. Top Gun Maverick, Deadpool and Wolverine, Ghostbusters Afterlife, and all of those were actually really good. So I have high hopes for this. Are they like sky high hopes? No, but I'm a little more less cynical, more positive, more hopeful that they will do this well because you've got Ralph Macchio back, you've got Jackie Chan back, you got this new kid Ben Wong, who's probably gonna be their pupil, and yeah, the Karate Kid with Jackie Chan and Jaden Smith, did it kind of stink and Jackie Chan was the only bright spot? Yes. And I have seen clips of Cobra Kai, and it has, from what I've heard, it has actually been very well received. The fans and the newcomers alike have liked it. Of course, I am a fan, not a huge fan of the Karate Kid movies, but I liked them in their time, and I still do like them, all three of them. So I think this is going to be something that the fans and maybe the general audience alike will be very receptive to. So, of course, this was just a poster. Let's wait and see what we get with a trailer or anything somewhere down the road, and we can proceed from there. But as of right now, I am optimistic.
All right. All right. So as for me, Cobra Kai, I have said it before. I'll say it again. I like the show. I don't like its premise, its foundation of what it built on. Because a lot of people say that, or it shows that Johnny never got over that tournament. And yet, what they don't show you in the show is very much shown in the movie, where Johnny takes the trophy and gives it to LaRusso, saying, you did good, LaRusso. You're all right. He accepted his loss. So,
No,
yeah.
it was more the teacher Creasy who didn't take the loss well.
Yeah. And so the premise of the beginning of the show, it just doesn't work. And even, this is the thing, even William Zabka, who plays Johnny Lawrence, agrees with me. He actually said that. He's like, yeah, that doesn't make sense, but it does, but the show is good. I like the show. I think it's a great show. It goes up and down. The first season was the best story-wise. Second season had the best fight. Third season had the best nostalgia. Fourth season really started ramping it up. Fifth season continued to ramp it up, and sixth season, we're on the final. The first 5 episodes were good, but it's kind of like, that cliffhanger that we're waiting for to come in November. It's like, you had better frigging have a good explanation, because otherwise I will 0 out of 10 this season if you guys do not have a good flow with this show. Believe me, folks, as much of a Karate Kid fan and Cobra Kai fan as I am, if their show goes off the rails because of a bad decision that the writers made, I will subjective score 0 out of 10 for that season. No joke. Because it's a subjective opinion. I'm entitled to it. And I want to see it done right. That's not a bad thing.
No, it isn't.
So getting on to our next topic, Gina Carano versus Disney has heated up. Now, to give you guys some background, Gina Carano is suing Disney because Disney defamed her, said that she made some transphobic comments, said that she was saying that Nazis were, or that Democrats were treating Republicans like Jewish people during the 1930s. She didn't do either of these things. I have gone over much of the story. I have been covering it as it's been developing. Even did a video on what we're talking about tonight. So I don't have the thing, or I can't share multiple screens. So I am going to read from her Twitter with my phone here. Let me come on camera for a second. I got my phone here. Here's the tweet from Gina Carano. So basically an update, or before to give you guys the update, because you won't understand the full context if I don't. She's suing Disney. Disney retaliated by doing a First Amendment defense. They failed on the defense. Then they appealed that decision and also tried to get it so Discovery couldn't go through. Well, Discovery is the evidence gathering process where Disney has to open everything up to the plaintiff. They're the defense. And a judge just shot that down. Judge basically said, you're not fitting the criteria.
Yeah, they're trying to hide the Discovery for sure. It's like, is what it seems what their actions are. It's like, no, we don't want to tell you anything.
Well, that's because the Discovery is going to allow everything to become, or all the stuff that's relevant to become public record. And Disney,
like her struggle sessions and stuff.
Oh yeah, and Disney hates or wants to keep a lot of that stuff hidden because they don't even like to show their budgets. It's only because Disney sometimes shoots in the UK that budget is out. But anyway, let's get to this update by Gina Carano. As the judge after the judge denied Disney's request to dismiss my case, Disney requested permission to immediately appeal that decision to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals and delay all discovery while the appeal takes place. Yesterday, October 16th, 2024, we learned that the judge denied Disney's unusual request. I am obviously very pleased with the opportunity to keep moving forward with this judicial process and into discovery. While I wish it was not necessary, as it is not my desire to be in this battle in court, I will not shrink away from it because it is hard or uncomfortable. Again, a huge thanks to all of you who have shown me support daily, to my incredible lawyers, and to Elon Musk and the people at X for the opportunity in continuing this lawsuit and seeking justice. Onward. And then it shows the court document here. Sorry that it, well, let's see here. Well, you won't be able to see it. I'm sorry, folks. But it goes over a lot of legal jargon that I don't understand at all. But the conclusion, for the foregoing reasons, the court denies defendant's motion to dismiss that and whatnot. So,
Like,
yeah.
stricken motion. Yeah, the judge is just like, this. Thus, it has been ordered. Boom. It's denied. Denied.
So,
boom. The end.
Mm-hmm. So Disney is basically shitting bricks, and they didn't put any lube in. So, yeah, they are terrified of what's going to happen, because basically every time a Disney employee and a Disney actor opens their mouths, Mark Ruffalo, Mark Hamill, and any others that have opened their mouths, they're going to be called to the stand to testify. They're going to be called to the stand to provide evidence against Disney. Kathleen Kennedy will be called. Pedro Pascal will be called. Mark Hamill will probably be called. Pedro, yeah. Poor Pedro, man, because Pedro and Gina are friends. But she's like, look.
Well, and Pedro's a very anxious person, too, so I don't think...
Well, that's the thing.
I think he would buckle on the
Something
stand.
Or his own posts, how you doing, right, are coming up as evidence, because he called a bunch of Trump supporters, 80 million plus Trump supporters back in like 2017.
Yeah.
Nachos. We'll just call them nachos.
Yahtzees.
Right.
Yahtzees.
Yes, or that. Sure. We'll call them Yahtzees. But yeah, he called them, or a bunch of them, Yahtzees, and well, nothing happened. She makes a very allegorical yet not so allegorical comment about how history happened. She gets fired. Not right. Not cool. Not all. Not at all. But yeah.
Also, the way that she got fired, too. So, it's not just, like, you're allowed to hire and fire whoever you want, right?
Yep.
However, she found out over Twitter. That's how she found out she was fired.
Yeah.
There wasn't the normal process. They struggle sessioned her. It didn't work. She didn't do what they told her, what they struggle sessioned her to do. She was going to have a whole... They had announced, and I think maybe you had talked about it on your show, they had announced a whole, like, show with her and Carl Weathers. Like, their own offshoot
Rangers
of
the New Republic.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. So for them to be like, oh no, she just wasn't a good actress, and we just didn't want to pursue any projects with her. First of all, that's a lie. Secondly, you don't fire people by them finding out via Twitter. That's not how you fire people. If she had done something wrong, broken company policy, said something that made the company look bad, etc., there's a process for firing people. Like, anybody who's worked in HR will tell you that. You don't just go, I don't like your sweater, you're fired. That's not how it works, And so that's, I think, the main thing as well. Yes, look at it, look at Pedro and what he said, and you can compare the two, because they want to go back on their word and say, well, it's something that she said. Well, no. Every single step in this process, Disney has been shady. Every single step. Including, asking for it to be, oh, we want this thing to be thrown out, because she filed them. They ask for it to be thrown out. It gets denied. They ask for it to be, for an appeal on that denial, it gets denied. They want to just, every single step is just shady. So I hope the book gets thrown at them, and I hope that the discovery that they find is damning.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it most likely is. But to address caveat ties here, I think she was fired for the beep bop boop thing, but the or Yahtzee accusations was the mechanism or excuse for her firing. You're not exactly wrong, because I do remember her talking on the Ben Shapiro Sunday night special where they were planning on putting her in a shaming session with like 40 plus, or a Zoom call with like 40 plus members of the LGBTQ IA Sigma Tau Theta Pi whatever community. And
Sorry.
Epsilon, the iota.
yeah, and they were basically going to yell at her, shame her, and they were going to say that this was going to be a private video call. Yet I have no doubt in my mind,
That they were
no
gonna
doubt
record.
in my mind that they were going to leak that fucker.
Probably.
For sure. And she was being very genuine, though, because in her interview with Ben Shapiro, she's like, look, if somebody wanted to come down and sit with me personally and have like lunch or something and say, hey, you know, what you did was offensive and I can explain my position, I can explain myself, people who work with me directly, whom I offended, I'd be happy to do that. But I'm not going to sit here with like 40 people. And Gina, having like her fight background, she knows what it's like to be, you know, to have, she was the first woman who had like a televised MMA fight. Like she knows what it's like to be down in the dirt with the dogs, like them trying to like, you know, pull one over on her. So as soon as they said, "Oh, we're gonna have like a Skype meeting with 40 people," I'm sure she knew exactly. She's not stupid. Like she knows exactly what that means.
She's like, that ain't happening. Sorry.
Yeah, right. Nope. But the timing of it was really weird too, because I remember it was like the end of season 2, and everybody was talking about how her character was great, and it was like a couple days later we find out that she's fired, like after the 2 finale. You know, like, do you guys? I might be off on that timeline, but I don't know if you guys.
You're about right, Kate. Yeah.
No, I like this from Mariah Carey. You're fired. You're fired. You're fired. I mean, that just reminds me of I think it was Spider-Man 2 with Tobey Maguire. Where were you? Photographing squirrels? You're fired. I mean, it's just so freaking
right, exactly.
Yeah, it's just so freaking insane, folks. When it comes to all of this stuff, when it comes to Gina Carano, in the case of Gina Carano, everybody knows my my Disney bias. Everybody knows how much I want to see Disney pay the price. However, it is specific in her lawsuit that her employment is restored. But I do think that is only so that she can receive the back pay that she is owed, as well as the payment for any contract that was going to result in like the Rangers of the New Republic show, that she was supposed to get money for that and whatnot, and the damages and such. So she's not going after him for like billions of dollars. No, she's going after him for what she is owed. And the thing is, folks, if she settles, if she actually goes to the table and settles with Disney, I'll be fine with that. I may be a little bit upset, but that is a personal gripe of mine. If she does whatever she needs to do in order to find closure for herself, in order to find peace for herself, I am fine with it. Because it really isn't up to me. It's not about what I feel. It is about what she feels. It is about her. I am just a spectator who is covering the news for it. Although I do support her, yes, and I want to see Disney knocked down all the way to the bottom of the friggin' rung, or the lower rung of the ladder. And Ambassador.
But even if she gets like a 10 mil payout, like I'd be fine with that too. You know, get your money.
Whatever she does, whatever she chooses, whatever happens, as long as it results in her coming out on top, I am fine with it. Thoughts from everybody else?
Go ahead, Ambassador.
You know, here's the thing. Was Carano done dirty by Disney? Yes, she was. did she break any terms of service or contract or whatever? I don't think what she had to say on X is anyone's business but her own. And if she wasn't under contract or whatever the case may be with Disney at the time that she made those comments on X, then that doesn't look good on them. It has nothing to do with her. She had an opinion. She voiced it on a now presently free speech platform. And considering what the other side has said about conservatives and Republicans and everything else across the board, and none of them got their hand didn't get their hand slapped or a slap on the wrist and everything for what they said by their parent companies or whatever company they're working for. I find this extremely hypocritical on Disney's part. They singled her out, a actress that was going to be in the series that potentially could have made them a heck of a lot of money and gotten them a heck of a lot of exposure on their streaming platform. And then because she made a few off the cuff remarks and voiced her opinion, she gets canned. That to me is just downright cruddy. Not to mention they shot themselves in the foot, and now they have shot themselves in the foot further because not one but two judges have said your appeals are denied. We're going forward with this because you do not have First Amendment protection, and two, you're going to have to show what you've done.
Possibly.
Through this, the wrongful termination of this former employee. So, am I as a dyed-in-the-wool Gina Carano backer as everybody else? Not necessarily, but do I believe she was wronged and Disney deserves to pony up the dough for it and maybe get some eggs smeared on their face? You damn right I do.
And for those who are not aware of the Elon Musk connection, he made a promise that when or after he purchased X or Twitter, that if you were fired from your job due to anything you may have posted on X, we will back your court fees. Elon Musk will pay for your court.
Yep.
And that is why he is backing Gina Carano. Now, the thing is, I believe Paul Tassi, everybody's favorite idiot from media, he put out some, I think he's from Collider. He put out some stupid article recently, I believe, lying about Gina Carano. Absolutely fucking lying, saying that she compared Democrats to Yahtzees persecuting conservatives, and also that she was making transphobic tweets. When it is absolutely provable she did not do that. And yet he continues to push that falsity. Honestly, I think that Gina Carano has grounds to sue him for defamation as well, unless he retracts it. I think there's more to it in Gina's case. There's absolutely more to it in Gina's case, but we will see. Unfortunately, we have to wait for next year, around almost a full year, like 9 or 10 months before we see anything that is really going to happen. And I'm hoping that we all are around to see it if this country doesn't go to hell. But I am hoping that whatever happens, Disney is held to account. That is all I hope for, as well as Gina Carano to also find peace. Now, moving on to our next topic before we get to movie discussion. Disney employee caught in a human trafficking sting, Operation Autumn Sweep. So I'm going to share the screen, not the audio. But essentially, folks, they did a trafficking sting. And a lot of you are probably wondering, well, this says human trafficking, not sex trafficking. What do you think they are doing with these people?
Well,
They could be.
They're not selling them for labor.
Singing Kumbaya around a fireplace.
No, these people are selling them so that they can be used for the twisted pleasure of others.
Making the beast with two backs.
Yeah, let's get into this. Winter Haven, Florida, more than 150 people, including a Disney employee and 25 illegal immigrants, have been arrested in an undercover human trafficking sweep in Polk County. That has also led to the rescue of 4 potential human trafficking victims. Dubbed Operation Autumn Sweep, the 5-day multi-agency investigation has led to the arrest of 157 suspects who solicited prostitutes and those who offered to commit prostitution, and other suspects who committed crimes related to prostitution. Of those arrested, Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd says 47 were prostitutes, 96 were Johns, and 1 was a human trafficker, and 14 are facing other charges. He added the oldest, John, was 61, and the youngest was 15.
Judas Priest.
Ugh.
According to to Judd, those arrested had 327 prior felony charges and 400 misdemeanor charges. Judd added that 2 of the potential human trafficking victims were in the country illegally and had to turn 20 tricks a day to pay off the person who brought them into the United States. If they did not comply, Judd said that their human trafficker would slap and choke them. The sheriff pointed out that 26 arrested were married and several were engaged. He said that 1 was a Disney employee who worked as a custodian at the theme park. There's mugshots all around here, folks. Not going to pretend that I don't see a pattern here. According to Polk County Sheriff's Office, 3 additional suspects were arrested for soliciting who they thought were children online and charged with traveling to meet a minor, attempted lewd and lascivious battery on a minor, and use of a computer
to catch a predator. Like, why?
Yeah, and use of a computer to seduce a child. Investigators say 1 of those suspects works at Disney World. 1 is in Florida for working on or out on bond for the same charges in another state, soliciting a child online. And the 3rd is in the country illegally. The 4 potential human trafficking victims are receiving help from the organization One More Child, a ministry in Lakeland that offers advocacy, mental health counseling, and experience mentorship for survivors. The organization is in full support of a bill that will be introduced into the legislature called the Human Trafficking Reduction Act, which would make first-time buyers a felony. Right now, this is a misdemeanor in the state of Florida. The trauma that is caused by being able to purchase a person's body and do whatever you want with it is far too catastrophic, and the resources expended by the Polk Sheriff's County Office and other agencies is far too much, said Joni, I don't know how to say that last name.
Jody, just pause.
Domingue.
Jody Domingue.
All right, Domingue. I'm not going to even try it. I'll just call her Jody. The vice president of the program operations at One More Child. If you're thinking about, or if you're thinking we're out here just going after people looking for prostitutes and we could be doing other things, ask yourself if it was your son or daughter who was being victimized, said Lake Wales Police Chief Chris Velasquez. Also in the crowd during the press conference, a survivor who is now a mentor at One More Child and who shared her personal story to better serve other survivors. We do not really need to go over any of that, folks. But the fact is, every time, or rather almost every time, almost every time that there is a operation, a human trafficking operation, a Disney employee is caught. This goes towards damaging Disney's reputation for their hiring practices because they're mostly focused on DEI. And yet they're not doing proper background screening for these people. They'll rather hire you for your sexuality. Apparently, part of that sexuality, in Disney's case, means they are, or if you are a sick person that likes to do untoward things to children, they won't care. Apparently. Because I did a video, folks, 5 years ago. Disney moved an employee who had had sexual relationships with a child, a minor. And instead of turning that employee in, they transferred her to another division, another part of the company, in order to protect that employee. That's not a joke. This woman screwed a male teenager who was under the age of 18. I believe he was 15 or 16 at the time. That's still a minor.
Mm-hmm.
And this woman was in her 30s. And they moved her to a different part of the company. Instead of the talent division or talent section or whatever, they moved her to a different division or section or whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of turning her in. That is disgusting. And that is one of the reasons why I am so against bringing people bringing their kids to Disney World. Many of the people that work there, whether you know it or not, most likely are into kids in a very unhealthy way. And yet people still want to take their kids to Disney World, still want to take their kids to Disneyland. If they live in California, they still want to freaking give them that magical experience. Well, unfortunately, the magic that that Disney wants to give your kids is rather black magic. Yeah. In the worst freaking way. Yep. Thoughts?
Yeah, I'm with you. I've always had a really big, sense of like getting mad when injustice happens, and to me, the biggest injustice is when you hurt people who can't protect themselves. And one of those people groups I would say are those who are the victims of of trafficking. And it's a huge problem. And it's a problem that people like to ignore because it's easier to do that. And I'm glad more and more that there are articles like this and that there are people speaking out about it. Like you just having a YouTube channel right now, just speaking out about it. That wouldn't have happened 10, 15 years ago. So, yeah, I mean, I just kind of feel kind of heavy right now. That's a big topic,
Yeah. Ambassador?
Yeah, here's the thing, and just to give a brief pretext, most people know I don't go political onto subjects like this, but I cannot help but do so in this instance. If our border down along the U.S.-Mexico border wasn't wide freaking open, I guarantee you that half those guys or half those perpetrators, and definitely more than half, if not all of those women and children that are being trafficked that were caught in that sting would not have been here. Now, would it have been better for them to still be south of the border? No, not necessarily. But here's the thing. Having our border wide freaking open and having all those people pouring in here and not vetting them or doing anything else led to what happened in this sting. Now, as far as the Disney employee goes, I hope they throw the freaking book at that custodian. I do. I hope they throw the book at him, and I hope it sticks. I hope he's in jail for a long, long time. Or considering what the most prison populations, how they feel about people who harm children, well, he may not be in there for that long. Either way. People say the issue at the border is not that big a deal, particularly if you're on the left. Well, I say to those people, you need to pull your head out of your freaking behind and wake up to reality. Snap back to reality. And realize just how bad this whole situation is. This type of situation should not be happening here in the United States. Unfortunately, it is. Because unfortunately, human trafficking is still a lucrative business and it should not be. So I know I kind of detoured off the main topic in terms of the Disney employee being caught in this whole situation. But as I said, I hope every single person, including that custodian from Disney, gets the book thrown at them and gets either their ass put in jail or gets their ass deported, and the people that have been harmed get the help they need.
Yes. And yes, you are absolutely right, dude. Folks, people have got to understand that Disney is not a good company. Yes, they put out some good movies like Alien Romulus, Deadpool and Wolverine and whatnot. But when it comes to their parks and their employees, they are seriously have a big problem when it comes to actual good people working for them. And they are constantly trying to push agendas onto people's kids. They're trying to indoctrinate your kids. That's not hyperbole. That's fact. They want to make your kids hate you and make your kids tolerant to child sexualization. That's not a joke. Look at what their most recent stuff has been put out on Disney Plus. Things that are made for kids, yet they're talking about sex and doing lewd actions in their shows.
And to put it in perspective, look at like 40, 50 years ago, what was for the same age range, like that young audience, you know? Look at the quality of television.
Yes.
just the perspective.
Yeah, you're right. So with that, we are going to be going to our closer because we are going to be talking a lot more, giving a lot longer talk about on this. Let me get the banner up. V for Vendetta Discussion. So this was the movie chosen by Kate to watch when she was back onto the stream.
Oh, don't forget to change the background.
Oh, I'm working on it.
And I'm back. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, she is back. I was gonna make another joke, but it's really not the time to make it. But yeah, V for Vendetta. This movie is so relevant today, folks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of people are like, or I was actually talking with Leslie Tarkin on X earlier, Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
And shout out to Leslie Tarkin. She is one of the channel's newest and also one of the most appreciative viewers. I appreciate her very much. And she's like, I just wish that they hadn't done it or called it about Conservative Party. Well, that's the thing. If you think about it, conservatives over in Britain are not right wing.
Nope.
They're
And
actually,
this is a perspective in this movie. It's a British perspective of things.
yes, it is a very
The
much a
United
British
States has
movie.
fallen
Yeah.
in this world that
Yeah.
they have.
Yeah, and but to put her mind at ease, basically, I explained the Conservative Party for Britain, for the UK, is more left than even our left.
Yeah. You think? You
Yeah.
think?
So yeah, and if you actually let me bring this up, folks. Let me see here. It's gonna take a bit. So just bear with me. I have to have something load. I'm sorry if my audio gets choppy. That's because something is loading.
Well, if I can just say while you're doing your thing, by far one of Hugo Weaving's best performances, and you never see his face.
Mm-hmm.
Not once. You see the Guy Fawkes mask. That is it. Kind of reminds me of another movie that I just did a review for. I'll be uploading it next day or so. The Invisible Man with Claude Rains. And Hugo Weaving carries that entire performance through nothing but his voice and his body language. As you don't
That
see
was
his
him in the
face.
suit, right? Like that was.
For
That
the
wasn't like
majority
a
of the time, yes. I think they did have a stunt double for some of the more
Sure.
dangerous or
Sure.
more intricate fight scenes and so on. But yeah, for the majority of the movie, it was Hugo Weaving behind that mask.
Does
Yeah.
he have a theater background? Because
Yes.
a lot of his that would make sense because
Yeah, just like Claude
like
Rains did back in the day. But yeah.
right, yeah. Well, like there are certain scenes where you're like, man, he does this really good pantomime that
Oh, yeah.
only theater people would really appreciate.
Mhm.
You know, like especially like the scene with him cooking the eggs for Evie.
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 Or
Evie
like
Hammond.
any of the times that where she finds him in the hallway, you know, fencing against the suit of armor. Like
Oh
there are
my
certain,
god, that was so fun.
yeah,
It was.
Because
just
he
has
is so embarrassed when she catches him.
I know it's
He's like,
great.
oh my god.
Well, he's so used to being alone, you know, so it's a very
Yeah.
real thing that could happen. He's so used to being alone and just like entertaining himself by, you know,
Well,
fencing with.
Well, that's what.
not to mention acting out a scene from the original Count of Monte Cristo,
Mhm.
Yeah,
which I'll
my
be actually
little
doing.
friend. But for context, folks, this is the actual true political scale.
Yep.
Where you have
I
far
like that you
left, which
posted
is
that,
total
yeah.
government, and far right, which is no government. When they say alt-right, that is their excuse to put everything that is on the left, communism, socialism, Nazism, fascism, etc., that is their excuse to put it on the right when they say alt-right. Because when it comes to no government, that's anarchy, which is
Well,
a theme in this
yeah.
movie.
Well, here's the thing about like the progressive movement in the United States. Just by definition, it's progressive, so it always has to move forward. So if you have a certain political party that's taken over by a progressive ideology, it's no longer okay for you to stand on certain principles and say, okay, we believe in this, we believe in this, we believe in this, we believe in this. Because progressivism, just by definition, they want to progress to the next thing, right? So conservatism, just in general, or even classical liberalism, it's not good enough for progressivism because you have to move forward. So the Overton window shifts, and like you were referencing that graph, you want to call the alt-right something. Well, it's just calling something you can't, like most people using the word fascism don't know what fascism means.
No, because they're uneducated
You know what I mean? Like if
or poorly informed. Sorry.
right.
Go ahead.
Exactly, yeah. And a lot of people who are using the word Nazi, schmazi.
Go ahead,
Sorry.
say it. We've said it enough, so go ahead. No longer matters.
Sorry, I'm I'm so used to
ahead.
having like, clear and open discussions with you guys.
Yeah.
They are not using that word in the real definition of the word. So it takes away
Of
from
course not.
real fascism, real schmazzyism, real, if you're
Schmuck.
throwing around this word too. And the right does it as well. However, usually the stuff that they point out like is, has Marxist roots or socialist or communist roots. But it's easy to use these words, and not know what they mean. People do it all the time.
Yeah. And this movie also has a litany of great quotes. I mean, one of my favorite
Sure.
quotes is people should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be
Governments
afraid of their
afraid
people.
people.
One of my favorites is that artists use lies to reveal truths and politicians use them to cover them up.
Yep. Because that's also very true.
Extremely accurate.
For me, and I actually did a review of this movie a couple of years ago. Well, actually, I think it was a watch along I did for it on my channel. This is a movie that should be revisited every year, particularly around November, whether it is a election year or non-election year, whether it's big or little, if it's midterm or general or the big boys in terms of elections. But considering everything that is going on, and I'm going to say this because granted it is outside of our political purview, but it is still relevant. Considering what's going on here in the U.S. and what's going on north of us in Canada, I want to be very careful how I say this. But I think everybody would be benefit from having a little bit of V's mindset. Maybe not what he carries out, but maybe
Correct.
having a bit of his mindset. I think favorite one of my favorite quotes, and it's actually by V himself. And I might butcher this a little bit, but it's during his big televised newscast on VTV. And he makes the statement that he's like, everybody is comfortable with the mundane, the day by day goings on of everyday life. But he says, there's something terribly wrong with this country.
Mm-hmm.
And we seem to have become comfortable by it. So he's like, I encourage you, I invite you 1 year from today to stand outside with me outside the walls of Parliament, and we will give them a November 5th, which they will never, ever forget.
I'm pulling up that quote now, if I can actually find it.
And he actually carries through on his word. And it's interesting. This guy, we don't know what his background is. We haven't the faintest damn idea, but he has a sense of the theatrical. He has a good knowledge of, I'll put it this way, pyrotechnics, high intensity pyrotechnics. We'll put it that way. And he also knows how he does have incredibly good taste in music and cinema.
Mm-hmm.
On both accounts, because he watches The Count of Monte Cristo, which actually had a very well done remake, which I'm actually going to be reviewing next month.
Read the book though; it's a different ending altogether.
I know.
Very much.
Okay. I know it is, but you know what? Here's the thing.
Great movie though. Yes.
I think it behooves everybody to have just a little bit of Mr. V in the back of their minds going, I believe somebody here is lying. Or I think a lot of people here are lying.
Yep.
And the one other scene that I love is when he's talking to the two detectives in the memorial park for the St. Mary's catastrophe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely love that whole scene. So, but with that, I relinquish the floor for now.
I have the full speech for the TV station. Good evening,
Mhm.
London.
Mm.
Allow me to
Yeah.
first apologize for this interruption. I do, like many of you, appreciate the comforts of everyday routine, the security of the familiar, the tranquility of repetition. I enjoy them as much as any bloke. But in the spirit of commemoration, whereby those important events of the past, usually associated with someone's death or the end of some awful bloody struggle, a celebration of a nice holiday, I thought we could mark this November the 5th as a day that is sadly no longer remembered by taking some time out of our daily lives to sit down and have a little chat. All right. Oh, I lost my spot.
By having a little
And
chat.
there we are. There are, of course, those who don't want us to speak. I suspect even now orders are being shouted into telephones, and men with guns will soon be on their way. Why? Because while the truncheon may be used in lieu of conversation, words will always retain their power. Let me read, please.
Sorry. Habit. Go ahead.
Curb it. Anyway.
Yes.
Words offer the means up to meaning, and for those who will listen, the enunciation of truth. And the truth is there's something terribly wrong with this country, isn't there? Cruelty and injustice, intolerance and oppression. And where once you had the freedom to object, to think and speak as you saw fit, you now have censors and systems of surveillance coercing your conformity and soliciting your submission. How did this happen? Who is to blame? Well, certainly there are those more responsible than others, and they will be held accountable. But again, truth be told, if you're looking for the guilty, you need only look into a mirror. I know why you did it. I know you were afraid. Who wouldn't be? War, terror, disease. There were a myriad of problems which conspired to corrupt your reason and rob you of your common sense. Fear got the best of you, and in your panic you turned to the now High Chancellor Adam Sutler. He promised you order, he promised you peace, and all he demanded in return was your silent, obedient consent. Last night I sought to end that silence. Last night he destroyed the Old Bailey. This is a quote, folks. Do not take me as reading something that I'm doing. No, this is a quote. I destroyed the Old Bailey to remind this country of what it has forgotten. More than 400 years ago, a great citizen wished to embed the 5th of November forever in our memory. His hope was to remind the world that fairness, justice, and freedom are more than words, they are perspectives. So if you've seen nothing, if the crimes of this government remain unknown to you, then I would suggest you allow the 5th of November to pass unmarked. But if you see what I see, if you feel as I feel, and if you would seek as I seek, then I ask you to stand beside me 1 year from tonight outside the gates of Parliament, and together we shall give them a 5th of November that shall never, ever be forgot. Now, folks, doesn't that kind of sound familiar? What's going on in our current country? I mean, let's go over some bullet points here. Cruelty, injustice, intolerance, and oppression. And where once you had the freedom to object and to think as you saw fit, you now have censors and systems of surveillance coercing your conformity and soliciting your submission. Well, yeah. Free speech has
Definitely
been...
got that.
Yeah, free speech has been gravely censored online until Elon Musk came along and allowed free speech to reign. When it comes to the people with guns and whatnot, and orders being shouted into cell or telephones, there are those who don't want us to speak. I mean, look at what's been going on in our government, or they've literally tried coming up with disinformation and misinformation committees.
Sorry.
To try to police speech.
Didn't work too well, did it?
And then there's one of the more important parts of the movie, folks, is the High Chancellor Sutler, played brilliantly by it's not William Hurt.
No, John Hurt.
John Hurt.
Yeah, John Hurt, the late great John Hurt.
Mm-hmm.
He basically wants a message to be sent or to be sent throughout the entirety of media, that he basically wants to spread the reign of terror. He wants to create a sense of dread that if this person is allowed to succeed, the world as you know it will go into a very dark place. Gee, it almost seems as if the media is doing that very thing here in the United States now, where
Not
they are
only that,
continuing
the whole. Sorry.
where they are continuing to fearmonger and say that if Donald Trump is elected, he's going to be like Hitler. He's going to kill people. He's going to arrest his political enemies. We've already seen what he's like in office.
Right.
But anyway, I yield the floor to Kate. You wanted to say something.
Well, and you were talking about going off your point, talking about the similarities between now. 2020, I always like to revisit this movie at least once a year. And it kind of pairs with another Natalie Portman movie, where in Star Wars, where she says, "And this is how liberty dies, with thunderous applause." And I feel like that quote and V for Vendetta, like hand in hand, kind of summarize like why I feel the way I do about like our political standing in the United States right now. But in 2020, we played out the plot of V for Vendetta. Everybody was willing to give up their freedoms and liberties, and maybe not question the legitimacy of something that was in the mail. And nobody's ever trusted USPS ever before in their lives. But when it came down to the most important thing, every 4 years, we trusted the United States Postal Service, like without any question, without any doubt. I'm trying not to get your account flagged, so I'm trying to say words that aren't gonna be like, "Oh my gosh, orange." But
they ain't gonna yeet me. That would only demonetize me.
Well, I don't want that to happen either. But
I'm not
was the exact
monetized.
same plot. Oh, okay. Well, it was the exact same plot. Be scared about this thing that could kill you. This disease that definitely wasn't coming out of a lab. To a population of people. It definitely, didn't at all look like the plot of Contagion. So these movies like Contagion or V for Vendetta, I like to revisit, and it's funny that this year our election falls on November 5th. So
doesn't it always?
No, it's the first Tuesday of November. So sometimes it's the 8th, sometimes it's the 3rd.
Okay, got it.
So this year it falls on the 5th. So everybody remember the 5th of November, please.
The gunpowder
vote.
treason and plot.
I know
no reason why the gunpowder treason should ever be forgot.
Yes.
I mean,
Also,
it's a wonderful coincidence.
It is. If you're looking for a really good, if you have HBO and you're looking for something to watch that kind of coincides with V for Vendetta, because I know V for Vendetta is the comic book movie. Gunpowder on HBO is a really great mini series about Robert Catesby and Guy Fawkes and their whole conspiracy.
Also, the special features of V for Vendetta give you the background on the real Guy Fawkes as well.
Yeah. The thing that I remember, the thing that I love about this movie is especially the relationship between V and Evie Hammond, played by Natalie Portman. I honestly think this is one of her best performances, even though it is a comic book movie. This movie came out at a particular time where comic book movies were still kind of seen on the fringe of what could be considered kind of high art or a more significant genre of cinema. But the thing I find interesting is, even after all these years, this movie still resonates with people because it's not just because it's a comic book movie or a movie that's based on I think, a very well-known, or has become very well-known graphic novel. It's the idea of one person who lost his identity, lost everything, but decided to refashion himself into a tool to fight against injustice and tyranny. And V is a very unconventional and a very unapologetic character. This is a guy that definitely falls into the category of an anti-hero because he is not afraid to kill. And the first time that
He's open about it.
Yeah, he is
Yeah.
very, very open about it. He takes out the guys that were going to assault Evie in that alleyway. He kills.
He doesn't kill those three. He does. He just roughs them up really badly.
Yeah, he roughs them up pretty good. But here's the thing: he kills for a reason. He doesn't just kill for the thrill of it. He kills for a cause, and that is something that I think we all can resonate with, at least on a philosophical level, if not a literal one, because I don't think all of us have the. I don't want to say we're all gutless or anything, but I don't think everybody has the cold-bloodedness in them to necessarily do that sort of thing. And I'm not saying that to be disrespectful of anyone. It takes a hard person to take a life.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it does.
And V was a character that was very hardened, and he was the right person for the right time. And the fact that he was willing to sacrifice his own life to free everybody else, as he said, tomorrow a new world will dawn, but that world is not for me. It is for you and for everybody else. I am simply a means to an end.
Yep. There's go ahead. No, finish.
Just one last point. That right there is the ideal selfless, self-sacrificing patriot.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay.
Another great bit, after he killed the voice of London, Evie finds out, she's like, find my ID. You didn't take it, did you? Would you prefer a liar or the truth? And she's like, did you have anything to do with that? Yes, I killed him. And it's like, oh God, you're upset. I'm upset. You just said you killed Louis Prothero. I might have killed the fingerman who attacked you, but I heard no objection then. What? Violence can be used for good. What are you talking about? Justice. Oh, and are you going to kill more people? Yes. He is completely open. He's completely honest with her. He is not.
And I think the surprise was like, you killed Tom Brokaw, kind of, like.
Yeah, but this guy wasn't Tom Brokaw.
Well, yeah, you know what I mean. Like
Yes, I do.
She was like, "Oh, you killed this guy who's like on my TV." I think her shock was, you killed a person, but you also killed a person that like everyone knows. You're gonna get caught, and like, just like the blatant outward murder of, yeah, I am gonna kill these people. And it's not until later that we realize, like, oh, he has a kill list and like there's a reason,
Yep.
But yeah, there is a moment of like, oh shit, because she's saved, right? And she's down there, and then he's like, yeah, I killed this person. Yeah, I'm gonna kill these other people. And she's in a situation where I would assume that she's like, well, how am I supposed to know that you're not gonna kill me too?
Yeah.
Well, there's another aspect to V's character as well, and that's the part after he kidnaps her, or recaptures her in a manner of speaking, and puts her through the internment camps experience that he himself actually went through, just not quite as brutal.
Yeah. So. One of the best lines in this entire movie, and it's going to take a bit to freaking say it, but I love that. It's like, she asks, who are you? Who is but the following the function of what and what I am as a mask or a man in a mask. Well, I can see that. Well, of course you can. I'm not questioning your powers of observation. I'm merely remarking upon the paradox of asking a masked man who he is. And then he goes into, I love the V speech. Voila. In view, or hold on. Damn it. There we go. In view, a humble vaudevillian veteran cast vicariously as both victim and villain by the vicissitudes of fate. This visage, no mere veneer vanity, is a vestige of the vox populi, now vacant, vanished. However, this valorous visitation by a bygone vexation stands vivified, and has vowed to vanquish these venal and virulent vermin, vanguarding vice and vouchsafing the violently vicious and voracious violation of volition. The only verdict is vengeance, a vendetta, held as a votive not in vain, for the value of veracity of such shall one day vindicate the vigilant and the virtuous. Verily, this vichyssoise of verbiage veers most verbose, so let me simply add that it is my very good honor to meet you, and you may call me V. And I love what she said. Are you like a crazy person? Now, I want to know how many takes it took Hugo Weaving to do that speech.
He probably had to rehearse it a lot.
Or he did it in ADR sessions after the move, or after the, because speaking in the mask, they had to kind of filter his voice a little bit for the mask, but most likely it was ADR'd.
It probably was.
I wonder how much of the movie was ADR, because you could probably, well, no, because it goes back to my point earlier about his mannerisms. Like, his body language matches what he says for, you know, I don't know if I've ever caught a moment where you're like, oh, it doesn't kind of match, you know.
Well, here's the thing. ADR can be synced very easily to film footage. So it's possible that he may have done all that in ADR for all we know.
Well, it most likely is, because he had a mask on.
Right.
Well, yeah.
You can't exactly use
like
all
he was
of the dialogue.
Speaking. Right.
Because it would have turned out like this. You would definitely hear a difference in the tone and in the cadence.
I agree. But either way, the fact that he's able to do But yeah, that I think is one of everybody's favorite soliloquies in the entire movie is the V speech. I mean, the first time I saw it, and I actually went to see this in theater. I saw V for Vendetta in theaters when it came out back in the day. And I was like, I came out of that, and I was like, damn, Hugo Weaving is a boss ass actor. He needs to stop doing Megatron and do more of something like this.
I thought he did pretty good as Megatron.
Oh no! Don't get me wrong. To me, an actor of his caliber is kind of wasted on doing voice acting for a stupid villainous robot. But that's just my opinion.
Here's another thing, folks. Pay attention as I read these, because this is the Rookwood speech.
Ooh, yeah.
Our story begins, as these stories often do, with a young up-and-coming politician. In this case, not so young. Or in our case, not so young, in his 80s. He's a deeply religious man, not so religious anymore, and a member of the Conservative Party, in this case, the Democrat Party. He's completely single-minded convictions, has no regard for the political process. Eventually, his party launches a special project in the name of national security. At first, it is believed to be a search for biological weapons. It is pursued regardless of its cost. However, the true goal of the project is power. Complete and total hegemonic domination. The project, however, ends violently, but the efforts of those involved are not in vain. For a new ability to wage war is born from the blood of one of their victims. Imagine a virus, the most terrifying virus you can. The beer bug. And then imagine that only, or you and you alone have the cure. Remember what happened in 2021 after our president, or after the previous president left, nobody wanted to take the
jab.
the jab, and yet suddenly, oh, everybody is now forced to take the jab. But yeah.
Yeah, to quote our current vice president, Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
If the president tells me to take the schmaxine,
Yeah.
she didn't say schmaxine.
Yeah, I know.
I will not take it.
Yeah.
End quote.
But if your ultimate goal is power, how best to use such a weapon? It is at this point in our story that along comes a spider. He is a man seemingly without a conscience, for whom the story or the ends always justify the means. Kamala. Instead of a man, woman in this case. And it is he who suggests, or in this case, she who suggests a target that should be the enemy, or that should not be the enemy of the country, but rather the country itself. 3 targets are chosen to maximize the effects of an attack: a school, a tube station, and a water treatment plant. Several hundreds die within the first few weeks, at least the true goal, or until at last the true goal comes into view. Before the state marriage crisis, no one would have predicted the outcome of the elections, But after the election, lo and behold, a miracle. Some believed it was the work of God himself. But it was a pharmaceutical company controlled by certain party members, made them all obscenely rich. But the true genius of the plan was the fear. A year later, several extremists are tried, found guilty, and executed without the memorial, or while a memorial is built to canonize their victims. Fear became the ultimate tool of the government, and through it, our politician was ultimately appointed to the newly created position of High Chancellor. The rest, we say, or as they say, is history. Now, folks, again, there is a lot of stuff in that speech that can actually, not all of it, but much of it can actually be contributed to our own American politicians.
Yeah.
How many people became rich when Pfizer, Moderna, and shit came out with their vaccines?
Or Amazon, yeah.
I mean, how many of them fucking made billions off of it?
Mhm.
Now, yes,
But
Donald
it
Trump
was
pushed
on
the
the-
vaccine really freaking hard so that they had it in months, not or in weeks, not months. But the fact of the matter is, he did what he thought was best for the people. Where then the next administration comes in and says, you want to work? You take the jab. You want to go to school? You take the jab. You want to freaking do anything? You take the jab. Otherwise, your life, we don't give a fuck about you.
Well,
Where-
not only the administration was saying that, the media was saying that. Don
Yeah.
Lemon was saying that.
Yep.
Screw Don Lemon.
Rachel Maddow was saying that.
They still
And then
say
say
that.
they were saying, we don't like misinformation. We're not going to have misinformation. Well, you can still look up Rachel Maddow's speech about the jab and how you won't pass it on to other people. It'll just pass right by you. That's false. That's categorically incorrect. But you want to talk about false and disinformation and blah, blah, blah. Like, you spread a false thing saying if you get this jab, you get this, vax, you're not going to get it. You're not going to pass it to anybody. It was a lie. I don't know. It still makes me mad.
But, yeah. There's also another
Makes a lot of people
wonderful.
mad.
There's also another thing in the movie where the media is relaying news from the government, and it's like, it's not the media's job to fabricate the news. That's the government's job. We just report it.
Yeah,
And
that
it's
was actually.
like,
Go ahead.
wow, completely on the nose there. Holy
Well,
shit.
in the UK though, the BBC is it's
They're
owned by the
orange.
it's so
government-owned,
it's a little bit more, even though yes, it's true, it's honest in this country because you'll have a senator who's married to some CEO of NBC News or some shit, but there it's actually owned by the government. It's they pay taxes. You have to have a TV tax. If you have a second TV in your house, you have to pay more taxes. You actually have to have a tax to like drive on the road too, but that's another story. It is like BBC is owned by the government, so like to have this British, uh, kind of movie or British, centered movie, and then going, oh, well, the media is not going to lie to you. Like, the media is like the government. What do you mean? Like,
Yeah, no
Yeah.
kidding.
N-
Here's. Go ahead, bud.
No, you go ahead. This is going to be a bigger one.
Well, here's the other factor of this whole movie. Later on, the news is starting to ramp up the fear machine again, and the public is no longer buying it.
Yeah.
They are pretty much saying, you know what, go screw yourselves. And you want to talk about a parallel, I would say at least within the last year and a half, maybe going back 2 years, the public is pretty much turning into the public at that point in V for Vendetta, where we're pretty much telling them, yeah, go screw yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Literally go sit on a microphone and listen to yourself crap, because that's all that's coming out of your. That's what's coming
I,
out of your mouth.
I thought you were
I mean,
gonna say
that's one way to
fart,
put it.
but that was even better. Yeah.
So anyway, go ahead, Orange.
The one of the best parts, and honestly, this is actually very award worthy in my opinion back then, was after she found out the truth after her torture that it was V. And I
Mhm.
want to actually read some of the thoughts where it's like, I know you may never forgive me, but nor will you ever, or nor will you understand how hard it was for me to do what I did. Every day I saw in myself everything you see in me now. Every day I wanted to end it, but each time you refused to give in, I knew I couldn't. And she's starting to call him sick and evil, and he's like, you could have ended it. Evie, you could have given in, but you didn't. Why? And so she's saying, I hate you. And he's like, that's it. See, at first I thought it was hate too. Hate was all I knew. It built my world. It imprisoned me. It taught me how to eat, how to drink, how to breathe. I thought I would die with all the hate in my veins. But then something happened. It happened to me just as it happened to you. And then she's saying, I don't want to hear your lies. Your own father said that artists use lies to tell the truth. Yes, I created a lie, but because you believed it, you found something true about yourself. What was true in that cell is just as true now. What you felt in there has nothing to do with me. And she says, I can't feel anything anymore. Don't run from it, Evie. You've been running all your life. And so she starts hyperventilating at this point. Listen to me, Evie. This may be the most important moment of your life. Commit to it. They took your parents from you. They took your brother from you. They put you in a cell and took everything they could take except your life. And you believed that was all there was, didn't you? The only thing you had left was your life, but it wasn't, was it? You found something else. In that cell, you found something that mattered more to you than life. It was when they threatened to kill you. Unless you gave them what they wanted, you told them you would rather die. You faced your death, Evie. You were calm. You were still. Try to feel what you felt then. And basically, what he is saying is you felt the pull of an ideal, which comes to his last words to Creedy when Creedy is like, why won't you die? Behind this mask is more than flesh. Behind this mask is an idea, Mr. Creedy, and ideas are bulletproof. And then he snaps the guy's neck, but then he has already sustained so much trauma to his body that he can't come back from that.
Right.
And I also do
But-
love how they do not ever reveal his face.
Nope.
True. Me too. I do like that. What I do like about that scene is that they're both right. She's like, you tortured me. Like,
Yes.
Yep.
you did these awful things to me. And there's a different, I forget if it's the same conversation or, earlier on in the movie, but, he's like, what they did to me was monstrous, and she's like, and they created a monster. And
That was near the end of that was after the torture.
the
When
after
she
okay,
came back. Yeah.
and so what he did to her was monstrous, but he didn't create a monster.
No.
Well,
She
that's what
still
he's like. What happened to me was what they did to me was monstrous, and they created a monster. And that's basically because, or he doesn't deny that either.
No, he didn't. He took it. Like, he was quiet after she said that. I think he understood that that was correct, because even when she goes free, like, she could have turned around and had a vendetta against him and said, this is where to find him, get him, yada, yada, yada. I was tortured by him. She could have had her life back. She could have sold a book. Like, she could have had a whole life and stuff. But
Yeah.
she still believed in those ideals. Like, he's right as well. Like, they were both right in that argument. Like, he pulled something out of her that she never would have known about unless, it was kind of chiseled away, like all of her fear and doubt. Because, like, the first time he trusted her, when she dresses up as that, schoolgirl to go see the that minister, she tells on him.
A bishop, but yeah.
The bishop, yeah. She tells on him. Like, she fails him the first time. She lies to him. She failed him. She tattles, and so this time around, she has empathy, and, like, he didn't create a monster. She still had her empathy.
Yeah. Another great line in there is when she's like, or when she first meets him, he's like, is that what you really think, or is that what they want you to think? I mean, whenever I see a lot of these crazy people like Harry Sisson on X, it's like, is that what you really think, or is that what they want you to think?
Well,
it's not that so much that he's cuckoo riot. He's actually true. He's actually right in many of what he says. He doesn't lie to her. He does. Yes, he creates lies around her, but he ultimately tells her the truth.
Yeah.
But he's right in the sense that, like, he's not going to see that next generation. Like, he blew up the Bailey, but then he gave the mantle of blowing up Parliament to the next generation. He knew he had to stoke the fire and be kind of the monster that everybody needed him to be, and that was his methodology. He had to take out those. He basically took out the heads of state that were responsible for the mess that his country was in. But then he handed the mantle of starting a new country to people who would be better at that. Because, well, like, go read the parallels to Montague are like pretty high.
No, I don't get me wrong. I agree. Hopefully the people that came after V did a better job than the ones that were in power. Yeah, here's an interesting thing about the character, John Hurt's character. He plays this High Chancellor, Adam Sutler. But if you remember back to earlier on in John Hurt's career, he was in another dystopian futuristic movie called 1984. And I find it kind of interesting that his career had kind of come full circle, where he was the oppressor of the oppressed in 1984. In this one, he's the oppressor. And I couldn't help but chuckle at that fact, because he does such a good job at both performances. And the other character, okay, I don't know who's got music going on their background, but it's getting kind of deafening.
That's the
Okay. Anyway, um, the Detective Finch, he finally discovers V's hideout, and he finds Evie Hammond there at the tube station with the subway train ready to pull out, and you see V lay
Phrasing
V's
boom.
yeah, um, there in the train and everything, and he's got Scarlett Carson's all around him. And Vince is like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "She's like, he's trying to give hope back to this country." And she's the one that turns the lever, and there goes the train, and everything else is, well, as they say, history.
Right.
So I love the character of Finch because he's very much an every man on the ground, and you needed someone like that. I mean, you had Evie, but she was too close to the main protagonist. You needed somebody else, and Finch was that perfect everyman for us to see this movie, to see the events of this movie go through in this movie. Excuse me.
Right, because everybody can relate to like just a regular cop. Like,
yeah.
You know,
Finch
where
is
it's
no
like,
sense. He's a gumshoe, but he's a very intelligent gumshoe.
For sure.
So anyway.
Okay, I finally found the damn line I was looking for. You were in the cell next to her. That's what this is all about. You're getting back at them for what they did to her and to you. What was done to me created me. It's a basic principle of the universe that every action will create an equal and opposing reaction. Is that how you see it, as an equation? What was done to me was monstrous, and they created a monster. That's the line in its full context.
Yeah.
But it's honestly true. It shows that this is exactly what happens. If you go too far, if the government pushes too much, they will eventually push, or the people will eventually push back. Mm-hmm. Now, another thing, after Creedy and Sutler are dead and the military's out on Trafalgar Square ready to blow civilians to pieces and shoot them to bits, they end up standing down because they receive new orders. That's the fault, or that is the flaw of an absolute despotism military force. They can't think for themselves because they don't dare think for themselves. When you break free will, you therefore cannot think for yourself, so you'll eventually lay down. And that's the thing. The United States, if the military was ordered without provocation to attack a United States populace, they would immediately say nope, because they're not legally allowed to. They are not allowed to be given an order that defies our Constitution.
Right,
now,
we're not the jurisdiction.
There are some, unfortunately, and have a good night, Riot. Thank you for tuning in. Now, unfortunately, there are some out there who will, or who have no problem with going after the our U.S. population. I mean, we have a dumbass congressman who actually said we should drop nukes on the U.S. Where those who protest and whatnot, Eric Swalwell, who, by the way, was banging away at a woman named Fang Fang. Yeah, he went bang bang with Fang Fang.
Yeah, who turned out to be a communist spy.
Chinese communist spy. Yep. The need to make a good movie based on Brave New World, the most realistic dystopian novel. The show kind of sucked. Yeah, I mean, they got a movie called Brave New World coming out. It's a Captain America film. But basically, folks, this movie is so relevant today because you will see all of if you watch it in its entirety, you will see what's literally going on in our real world. The media being the arm of the government, the mainstream media, where they continue to parrot all of the stuff. Trump is Hitler, this and that. And then if you overlay all of them at the same time, you hear the same words being spoken.
Yep.
And then
I've
they
actually
also
seen compilations of that.
Oh yeah, and then they also start saying out and out lies when it comes to things they cannot absolutely tolerate. When they say that they're the party of tolerance, they can't tolerate anything that is or anything that believes differently of them. Where they say these people must be silenced, and anything you say is hate speech. To be completely honest, folks, when the First Amendment was made, and the First Amendment in its form or in its actual form, hate speech, racism, and all of that is protected. Now, I am not saying that I condone it. Do not get me wrong. I am not saying I condone it. However, it is actually protected speech. And it cannot, again, repeat, cannot have any sort of legal punishment against it. Believe it or not, if somebody, or to give you a hypothetical, or to give you an example, not that this is happening, not that I would ever do it. If I went down or out there and said all these disgusting N-words should die and whatnot, I said should. I didn't say I would go out and do it. That's a difference between protected speech and non-protected speech, which is an actual threat or call to violence.
Mm-hmm.
I am not ever saying that I would actually go out and say that, nor do I believe it. I am giving you an extreme example because extreme examples are more or are most likely going to cause you to listen rather than a soft example like, oh, well, maybe I think this should happen or this should happen. No, give them a more chaotically extreme example and they will be like, what the fuck? And that would actually get them to listen. And that's when you actually say, okay, now that you're listening, pay attention. You know? But what if someone hurts my feelings? Too fucking bad. Ben Shapiro, as much as I think he is an egotistical maniac, has actually said one of the most quotable quotes out there. Facts don't care about your feelings. Laws should also not care about your feelings. Law or the universe dictates that laws put into motion should never be made on the basis of or the foundation of emotion, because then the law is malleable, and laws should never be malleable.
Mm-hmm.
That is, or it all goes as a part of what is going on in V for Vendetta. These laws were changed simply because something that they didn't like. The CD was Tchaikovsky's 1812 Overture. Put that on the blacklist. I never want to hear that music again. It was outlawed right then and there.
Wow, so tolerant.
Mm-hmm. If you were a Muslim or a homosexual in that version of England, you're dead. They'd execute you. And yet they want to say that it's the right wing, the conservative party in the U.S. that that is so intolerant. Motherfucker. The frickin'
bite my ass.
We have no problem with them, except for when they are trying to actually infringe on our rights, when they are trying to make it so they have more rights than we do. We all want equality. We do not want inequality. When women are bitching about the whole Roe v. Wade overturnment, when they say that women have a right to their bodies, you're darn right they do. My body, my choice, yada, yada, yada. It doesn't mean that people have to like it. But another thing, when women say men have more rights than women do because of all this, no, they don't. The second that a man turns 18, they are required by law to register in the military for the draft. Oh, wow. That means if there is a draft and their number is called, they have no choice but to serve under penalty of imprisonment. Meaning, the second I turned 18, guess what? My body no longer belonged to me. It belonged to the United States military if there ever was a war in which a draft was called. Now, thankfully, there was never a war in which a draft was called. Or the U.S. had voluntary military service. I wanted to go into the military. Unfortunately, they wouldn't take a person with the mental handicaps that I had. They said, get off the meds, we'll talk. Then Obama started changing shit around, and they started taking people with meds and shit. Well, get off the meds and we'll talk. And that's when I'm like, all right, screw it. Not going to try again. But the point of the matter is, folks, with what they show in the movie and what's going on in real life, and I am sorry for the music in the background, it is nothing that I can do to avoid it. It's because people in my house are deaf.
Oh, that's
So,
okay. I'm not mad or
yeah.
anything.
I know. I'm sorry about that.
It's okay.
But basically, the point of that I'm trying to make is if you watch this movie today, you will see pure, blank, absolute truth of what's going on in our world today in the United States. It is as if the Democratic Party and the media watched V for Vendetta as a guidebook, as a fucking to-do manual. Except that they weren't crazy enough to manufacture a freaking pandemic. Although if you look at what Obama said earlier, you might actually think differently. But the point of that I'm trying to make, folks, they have, or 90% of what was done in the movie V for Vendetta has been done in the United States over the last few years. Any final thoughts, folks?
Outside of the political and social commentary, this is just in its own right just a plain flat tab great movie. It is within my top 20 all-time favorite movies, and it transcends the whole idea of it just being a great comic book movie, and it is simply a great movie. And whether you watch it once a year or more than, it's always a good time. And that's what good cinema should be. Those are my final thoughts. Yoo-hoo, Kate!
Kate, any final thoughts?
My final thoughts would be, I just kind of going off what Ambassador said. It's just a good film.
No, I didn't say good
enjoyable.
film. I said great film.
Sorry,
it's okay.
Sorry,
I
I
tease.
misquoted.
I tease.
Great film.
I tease.
Because it is a great film. I'm a bad quoter, but it is a great film.
It's okay.
And the ideas that it brings up are good to revisit, especially this coming November 5th. So I think the timing of this review was good, and just like revisit the movie. I think the acting's great, the writing's great, the performances are great, it's a really enjoyable film.
Well, folks, that you served 4 years in the Army, Caveat. Thank you for your service, man.
Thank you for your service, sir.
Yep. Anyway, folks, that is going to be the recap for this week. Thank you so much to Caveat Ties, Riot Kitty, Vanya, and who else? Conroy, and all on X who were paying attention and watching. And Leslie Tarkin, I know you're going to be giving a rewatch to this, so thank you so much. Folks, if you want to continue to support my channel, best way to do, like, comment, subscribe, and share. All that jazz. Getting my content out there, sharing my channel link and whatnot helps get the channel noticed. It helps, or I can only do so much by myself, but if we all work together, we can accomplish wonders. Now, again, at the end of the year, if I reached 20 or 2,000 subs, or 2025 specifically, by the year 2025, I will do a giveaway. I will be giving away a item that you all may like, that you all may have use for. Everybody has use for them. And yeah, I will definitely be doing it. If not, you're going to miss out. I'm sorry. I am going to put my foot down on that. It's not going to be like, oh, well, maybe I should do it anyway. No, it won't. I don't do that. But anyway, folks, thanks so much for tuning in. Tomorrow is Orange Hat, or is the Monday Night Rants. Tuesday is the theme stream for Demons in Film and whatnot. I got my overlays ready. I'll be giving my thoughts on demonic or films with demons and stuff in them that I have seen, not films that are not all of the films out there. I will also be on the Barroom podcast Tuesday night at 9 p.m. on Society Reviews channel. Wednesday will be on Jade Shadow's channel, 8:30 p.m., where we will be discussing Insidious 2. And then Thursday on X, 8:30 p.m. on my Orange Hat 2185, this one. It will be A Nightmare Before Christmas. So, yeah, we will be discussing that. And then Friday, I may or may not be on Orange Hat Uncensored. I may be at the theater seeing Venom 3.
Ooh, I forgot that comes out this weekend.
Yeah. Wait, what?
I said I forgot that comes out this weekend.
Yes, it does. Thank God you scared the shit out of me. It's like, wait, that doesn't come out this weekend? What?
No. I had forgotten. So.
But yeah, it comes out. And we will also be putting a poll on, or I will be putting a poll on X over the next day or two, possibly even tonight, of a couple movie ideas for next week's movie discussion. That way we all have time to see it and whatnot. So I will also tag you two to the poll so that you know what the choices are and whatnot. Most likely you'll be voting for your own choices. But anyway.
Maybe not.
Anyway, folks, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm going to get back to, I'm actually going to wind down, continue watching The Flash. I'm in the seasons where it's absolute torture to watch now. Season 6.
Savitar?
No, Savitar, or seasons 1 through 3 were good. Season 4 was okay. Season 5 started going off the rails. 6, fucking terrible.
Yeah. Once you have to like jump back and forth between all the different
well, Crisis of Infinite Earths and shit and the crossovers, is like, would you stop that, man?
Yeah, because then I had Go ahead. Oh, I was just gonna say, like, then I had HBO recommend. It was like, because you watched Batgirl, and I was like, no, I didn't watch Batgirl. I watched the crossover episode for the Flash.
Yeah, right. I mean,
and then you get to the Speed Force lightsabers.
Oh my God, I haven't gotten to that. I think that's in like season 8, 7 or season 8, and it's like I'm about to begin season 7. I'm on the season 6 finale, where Mirror Master or whatever. But oh my God, I actually found myself, because I've seen most of the episodes, I found myself skipping forward, skipping the Iris moments, because Iris was fucking fun.
She gets annoying.
Yeah.
She gets really annoying pretty quickly.
Okay. But anyway, folks, thank you all so much for tuning in. We got to get going. So y'all have a wonderful night, and always remember to stay humble. Peace.
Are you done? Are you done?